Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
I am that dude, Bodkins. Patty to patty. It's ridiculous. No way. There's nobody else out there. He's your guy. Give a big round of applause for the one and only Bodkin Show. I'm going to repeat that again, folks. I didn't stutter. Welcome to the Bodkins Show. Good evening, everybody. It is another great episode of the Bodkin Show. This is our NFL Week 4 reaction. Lot to get into. Wow, what an incredible week. The picks that we gave out Wednesday, not so hot. We'll talk about all about that. If you missed this morning's Head Kicks and Haymakers episode, please check that out because I did a little solo pod just to kind of catch up on the MMA news as the boys were kind of dealing with some personal stuff. Kenny still MIA, still trying to figure out life with two babies. He won't be in tonight. Did send his in TURDS and DAWGS, so we'll get to that at the back end of the show. But making his appearance, been gone for a little bit, but back from doing dad stuff and everything else in life. My main man, Kraig with a K. Kraig, I miss you, brother. Thank you for coming back. It's been far too long.
Hey, thanks. Thank you. Sorry I've been absent. I've had a few things going on, and single dad life sometimes makes it a little difficult, but we're here tonight.
Hey, we get that, and we know how it is. Eventually, someday, Kraig, we'll get paid for this shit, so, then there'll be no excuses after that. But a man who needs no introduction, co-host of the Buffoon and Bodkins, co-host of the Sports Buffoon, my main guy. You can catch us here every Monday night. You know who he is. Tanner Dawson joining the show, taking time away from watching the Chiefs put that beat down here on the Bucks.
Hey, don't jinx us yet, all right? We still got a long ways to go here. Long ways to go.
Hey, I gave the Chiefs as my lock of the day. That was my sole lock of the day was the Chiefs. It was a pick-em game, and that was my sole lock. Hammered that one home.
Well, I hope it's right, and it better be right. Let me tell you that.
Hey, it's probably not. Hey, look at the Colts.
There is a thing known as the Bodkins Kiss of Death.
There is the Bodkins KOD. Ask Indy, and we'll go ahead and get into it. I jumped on their bandwagon early. I was jumping on it. I jumped on the Dolphins bandwagon, and I said I probably gave them the BKOD, and that's the Bodkins Kiss of Death. Sorry, Tua. Sorry, Dolphins fans. It happens, Let's go ahead and get into Sunday night's game here, or Thursday night's game. Everybody by now, we all know what happened to Tua. They fired the doctor who cleared him on Sunday, but not everybody. He was cleared every day up to that. Cincinnati looked good in those uniforms, and even better yet, looked better on the field. Tanner, it seems so long ago now. Bengals got it together here after going 0-2, beat the Dolphins 27-15. Not only do they win, they cover.
How surprising is that? That's insane.
Yeah, what was your thoughts there on the Fins and Bengals game?
All right, I wasn't really impressed with this game by any means, but it was nice to see Mixon get out there. It's nice to see the Bengals defense kind of come alive as well. But you got to admit, too, that the Dolphins, you could already see they were worn down from playing 90 snaps or whatever it was on defense, or whatever that big number was from the Buffalo game. And you could see that the fatigue, the exhaust coming into play, they just couldn't keep it over the whole game. And even the offense couldn't move it before Tua got body slammed, in that game. And I mean, Teddy came in. I thought he did a nice job, but there's just nothing was clicking. I mean, Tyreek had a big day too, I believe, right?
Tyreek, 10 receptions, 160 yards. I mean, so he kind of gets the better of Eli Apple, but at the end of the day, he who lasts longest, and that's kind of what Eli Apple can say is the Bengals win 27-15. You mentioned Teddy played okay. I mean, 14 to 23, 193 yards, touchdown, one interception. Not much in the running game. Jalen Waddle, not much, nowhere to be found. 2 receptions, 39 yards. Kraig, looking at my Bengals here, Joey Burrow looks back and healthy. 20 of 31, 287, 2 touchdowns. Joe Mixon, 24 carries, 61 yards and a touchdown. T. Higgins. They focus so much on Jamar Chase, but everybody forgets T. Higgins can ball. 7 receptions, 124 yards, and 1 touchdown. Kraig, what's your thoughts there on Thursday night other than, maybe Tua shouldn't have been playing?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the main story is Tua and whether or not he should have been playing. I didn't make the pre-show, but I messaged in live and said I'm taking Bengals money line, but give me Dolphins to cover. But before the game started, man, I was texting you and messaging in group that I just really thought the Bengals were going to cover the points. Miami coming off of, their defense, like Tanner said, wore out 90 plays the week before, and then short turnaround coming in on a Thursday night. Joe Burrow came in looking like, Joe Cool, like playoff Joe Burrow. I just thought the Bengals were going to put it on him. And honestly, man, I wasn't that impressed with what they did. Even after Tua got hurt, the Bengals, it seemed like it took them a while to really be able to put this one away. The score makes it look like it wasn't that close, but Miami was in the game pretty much the whole way through, even after Tua was hurt. So, I really kind of thought that this was going to be the outcome. But that was with Tua playing. So I don't want to say I'll put an asterisk by it, but I feel like I need to see more out of Cincinnati, man. Burrow was missing some throws, and T. Higgins did have a big game. They've proven, it's not Jamar Chase has to eat or the offense doesn't work. They've got weapons all over the place. But, Cincinnati, I was not totally impressed.
Tanner, what's your thoughts with Miami going forward here with Tua? We don't know how long with Tua out and Teddy in. Teddy, this is his 4th team in 4 years. What's your thoughts here as far as, the Dolphins and Teddy time, Teddy 2 gloves coming in?
I think it's fine. I think it was a smart move to get a guy like Teddy to back up Tua just because of what we saw last year with him being, in and out being injured. I feel pretty good, especially with their schedule coming up. You got the Jets, Vikings, Steelers, Lions, Bears. So if he misses 2 of them, let's just say 1 or 2 of them, you really have a pretty set schedule going to play. Their schedule's not difficult even going past that. Really isn't until you get to the maybe Chargers Bills game towards the end. But outside of that, I'm not worried about this Dolphins team. I think their defense is pretty sound and solid. I think they'll be fine next week. Getting some long rest in, much needed rest, and that offense, they'll get stuff figured out there. I think with Teddy in the helm, if he is in the helm come Sunday against the Jets, I think they'll be all right.
Kraig, what about you? Everybody's still playable fantasy wise here. Hill, Waddle. Chase Edmonds is getting in the act now. Everybody's still playable, okay?
Yeah, like you said, Teddy's bounced around the league a little bit the last few years, but he's been kind of in quarterback competitions everywhere he's been. So Teddy's no slouch of a backup. And I think the beauty of it for Teddy is Miami's offense is kind of just get the ball in the playmakers' hands and let them make some plays. Tua's not, skill-wise, Tua's not one of the top quarterbacks in the league. But whenever you got guys like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, you get the ball in their hand and let them make plays. So I think, the long 10 days in between games gives them a lot of time to prepare here with Teddy. I think McDaniels has shown he's a pretty good game planner. I think Miami's going to be okay.
Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll move on to clear across the pond, the game this morning. Interesting game this morning. Primetime Kirk Cousins was outed again. It doesn't matter whether it's daytime or nighttime. It's only if he's the only guy on. Saints, a battled up Saints team, took the Vikings all the way to the end, and it was like a double doink. Crazy double field goal.
Doink.
It literally bounced off
yarder.
bounced off the upright, bounced off the low goalpost, and then it still floated in the air. If somebody could have tapped it, it probably would have went in. But Saints here, no Jameis Winston, no Mike Thomas, no. I think Alvin Kamara, was he out in this one too?
Kamara, he was late. Scratch.
Yeah, no Alvin Kamara. So half their team's banged up, and they give Minnesota all they can handle. But Minnesota sneaks one out here across the pond. Kraig, what's your thoughts here? Minnesota on the Minnesota Saints game.
Well, this 2 weeks in a row now, Minnesota's shown, I guess, that they can squeak one out late. The thing that worries me is, I mean, these two games are against the Lions and the Saints, and not even the Saints, like you said. This is, I mean, dang near the backup Saints. They're missing a ton of guys on the offensive side, and the Vikings just, I mean, kind of looked like they couldn't get it going, man. Offensively, Kirk Cousins is what he is. I think maybe you're the one that shared it, but I saw it on Facebook just earlier today. Kirk Cousins 60, 60, and 2 overall as an NFL starter, just the definition of mediocrity. So, I mean, to me, Minnesota's 3-1 through 4 games, and they're looking to compete for the division. Everybody in that division has got some issues, but if I'm Minnesota and I'm a Vikings fan, I'm not feeling super confident in the 2 wins that they've had, just because, I mean, the Lions and then the backup Saints, the Vikings shouldn't have to come down to the wire against those teams and win games like that.
Yeah, Minnesota's 3-1. Now they're 3-1. Kirk Cousins, we mentioned it, 25 of 38, 273, only had 1 touchdown. Huge bounce back game for Justin Jefferson, though. 10 receptions for 147 yards. He was missing in action the 2 previous games. So that goes to show you there's 2 of their 3 wins. Get the ball to Justin Jefferson, and you're gonna win. You're gonna win a lot of games. Dalvin Cook, who's playing banged up, 20 carries for 76 yards. You look at the Saints.
What?
Yeah, and he was hurt. You look at the Saints. Andy Dalton. I mean, another good, capable backup. Didn't hurt the Saints in any way. 20 of 28, very efficient, 236 yards, only 1 touchdown. Latavius Murray, I didn't even know he was still in the league, had a rushing touchdown. Taysom Hill had a rushing touchdown. Then you look at receiving, just Chris Olave, 4 receptions for 67 yards and 1 touchdown. He had some incredible catches today, and that pretty much wraps it up for Jarvis Landry, two receptions. But Tanner, what's your thoughts here on the game that was across the pond?
Did anybody realize Latavius Murray was still on a team somewhere? Because I didn't realize he went back to New Orleans.
I actually just saw the Saints they just signed him back. He was a free agent, and with Alvin Kamara being hurt, they just signed him back.
Yeah, that was I didn't see the transaction at all on, so that surprised me. I'm like, Murray? No way, they got the trio back there. So impressive game by him coming back. I was disappointed with Minnesota. I expected to wake up to a bigger spread in that case, right? Andy Dalton, we know, is a serviceable quarterback, probably similar to Kirk Cousins, really. But honestly, they should have taken care of Andy Dalton, who hasn't played in like a year, right? It should have been a lot more spread. So I'm really disappointed in this defense of the Vikings. More so the offense. Yes, they got Thielen the ball. They got Jefferson the ball. But outside of that, I don't know. There's something to me that I'm like, it shouldn't be 28-25. We should be looking at a, 28-10 game coming into play against this beat up Saints team. They're beat up on defense. They're beat up on offense. And it shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't be at all this way. Now, Nick, I'm sure we'll talk about it tomorrow, but do you think it was close because Jameis Winston wasn't playing?
I think it was because Andy Dalton didn't hurt. Like I said, he didn't hurt the Saints, right? He didn't throw the interception, didn't commit the crucial turnover. I mean, you said the talk about the spread. The spread on the opening line on Wednesday when we picked, which this is another game that we didn't get right, Kraig. We were both on Minnesota at -3.5. Well, you see, it was 3.
I got it at 3 when I put the bet down last night. It was 3, and let me tell you what, that double doink, I was watching that sucker, I had the door open, I was yelling like, yeah, don't hit.
So before we move on, we got some comments here. Our number one fan, Chris Landis, is saying Jefferson is becoming a diva. Do you, Kraig, you are siding with Landez here. Jefferson becoming a diva.
I mean, let's be honest. All the big stars are divas, especially the wide receivers. I don't think he's being anything like out of the ordinary or anything that's going to be a distraction or cause a problem with the Vikings. I mean, stuff that he does between the lines on Sunday, man, he's one of those guys. I mean, he can be a little bit of a diva. Don't go full TO and you'll be all right.
He won't go TO.
But so Landez is saying he wants the offense to go through him. He's not Adams in Oakland. I mean, you agree with that, Tanner?
Yeah, I think this is such a tough one here. I'm not saying Jefferson's better, but Jefferson's better. Okay, he's more athletic. The offense should go through him. Let's be real. If Kirk Cousins is going to throw anybody the ball, it should be Jefferson and Thielen all day long. Both of them should have 100-plus yards every game if Cousins can get it to him. So
Yeah,
I think
the offense should run through him. I mean, he's not wrong because
I think the offense should go through him. Go after your playmaker. Go after the guy that can get it done. It's just like Oakland.
Nick, you kind of alluded to it. I mean, they're 3-1 in 2 of those games. Jefferson had a big game. So I mean, they're obviously a better team when Justin Jefferson eats.
Gets the ball.
Yeah, exactly. When Justin Jefferson gets the ball, they're a way better offense. I mean, and then Kurt just can't force it. I thought in the Philly game he tried to force it to him too many times, and that's where Kurt was throwing a lot of picks. Let's get into the next game here where there was no defense. Who would have thought Seattle and Detroit would be the highest scoring game of the day at 48-45? Seattle got a huge lead here, Tanner. Detroit did everything they could to battle back. But what was your thoughts here? Seattle, hold on, before I got to read something here because, again, I might have to apologize to Geno Smith. There was a tweet that was sent out. I've been bashing Geno for a long time. You guys know that. Check this out before we get your opinion here. Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith has a 77.3 completion percentage, 102 of 132 through his first 4 games this season. The highest completion percentage by a quarterback in his first 4 games of an NFL season. Geno Smith. I'm sorry. Maybe we were right. You shouldn't have wrote back on people, but maybe he'll come back down to earth. I mean, Tanner, are we believing in Geno Smith here? And what he did today with the Lions?
I already got my pen here, man. I'm already writing back to Pete Carroll. Say, hey, I apologize. I'm trashing you when you tried to Geno over Drew Lock. I'm sorry for trashing you that your offense was going to be trash. Rashad Penny with 151 yards. Rashad Penny running like a madman this year already. Geno throwing the ball, being accurate, being a guy, leading this offense down. Yeah, I think look, whatever it is, whether it's the belief, whatever it's the chemistry he has with him, I believe in Geno right now. He has proven me through 4 games now that he can lead an offense down the field. He can be the guy for this team. And there is no reason to seek a guy like Jimmy G. There's no reason to seek a guy like Teddy. There's no reason to seek anybody like a guy like Cooper Rush going to play because Geno Smith can do this. Look, Seattle, I'm blown away.
Yeah, speaking of Geno, so before we get into Kraig, here's Geno's stat line in this game. 23 of 32, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also ran for another rushing touchdown. Tanner, you alluded to it. Rashard Penny ran all over this defense. 17 carries for 151 yards, 2 touchdowns. DK, 7 receptions, 149 yards, and got carted off to take a poop. And then Tyler Lockett, 6 receptions for 91 yards. So he's spreading the ball over his 2 touchdowns, 1 to Will Dissly, 1 to Noah Fant. You look at Detroit, their offenses continues to, even without Amon St. Brown, continues to perform. Jared Goff had
no Amon.
Yeah, Jared Goff still had a day, 26 of 39, 378 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jamal Williams, 19 carries, 108 yards, 2 touchdowns. TJ Hawkinson, Kurt's dogs, baby, 8 receptions, 179 yards, 2 tutters for my guy from Iowa. Josh Reynolds, 7 receptions, 81 yards, 1 touchdown in that Amon St. Brown role. Kraig, what's your thoughts here? Are you a believer in Geno, and can the Lions stop anybody?
How good are these offenses and how bad are these defenses? I feel like I'm a broken record here. Every single week we've talked about the Lions, but these are the same damn Lions of last year that either get up huge on a team or fall back huge on a team and somehow make it a close game and lose by 3 or 4 points, normally covering the spread. This week they were favored, I believe, and didn't cover the spread, but this is the MCDC Lions. I am surprised for sure on what Seattle was able to do. As far as being a Geno believer, I guess it depends on how far we're willing to go when we say a believer. Do I think that, Seattle has any shot at winning the division with Geno Smith? No, I don't. I do think Geno Smith is a very serviceable NFL quarterback, and I feel like, he's more than earned the opportunity here in Seattle. Pete Carroll, they've got something going. Rashad Penny's running like a madman. He usually does that a couple games a year. I need to see him stay healthy. I need to see Seattle is almost somewhat like San Francisco. They just I feel like they've always got injuries there at the running back. They're always in certain different guys throughout the season. Geno's looked good for a few starts here, man, but we've seen guys, like Teddy Bridgewater and some of these other guys put 4 or 5 real good starts together, and then they kind of come back to earth. So I'm not fully buying in on Geno yet.
Hey, man, this is 4 games through, though. This guy isn't just being a 2-game, 1-game off guy on no touchdown. All right. That's kind of thing, going to play. It's a consecutive week by week kind of thing where he is performing at a starter level, So it's, I don't know, like how many more games do you need, Kraig, to be able to accept Geno as a starter?
I guess I need to see it against better quality competition. Their offense did not look good against San Francisco. They look pretty good against Denver, who Denver, the more games they play, the worse they're looking.
Don't get me started on those guys yet.
And like I said, Detroit is Detroit. It seems like it doesn't matter who they're playing. If Detroit goes out there and scores 60, whoever they're playing is going to score at least 58, if not 62. It seems like that's just kind of how Detroit rolls. So I need to see a little more from Seattle.
Next 3 games: Saints, Cardinals, Chargers. Is that a good lineup? See where we're at after that?
They could beat the Saints.
If they go 2-1 in that three-game stretch, then I'm believing.
Okay. We'll hold it to it.
Hey, speaking of holding to it, it seems like Pittsburgh here has now maybe made they brought in the kid after Mitch struggled. It is time for Kenny Pickett. Kraig, I think we're both disbelievers in Mitch Trubisky now after today. It's Kenny Pickett time as the Jets go into Pittsburgh and upset the Steelers, who now fall to a bad 1-3, and it doesn't look good here.
No, it doesn't look good, and I don't want to give a spoiler alert or anything, but I'm very disappointed in the fact that, Pittsburgh made the quarterback switch there at the half. Mitch definitely wasn't looking good in the first half, but you're against the Jets here and you're at home, and for Mike Tomlin to pull the trigger and bring in Kenny Pickett with all the hype, and then, they just come out in the second half and don't look very much better and still lose at home to the Jets. So, Pittsburgh, it's disappointing. I feel like it's the right move moving forward. Mitch isn't getting it done, so you might as well get Kenny Pickett out there, get him, the more live action reps he gets with the first team starters, the better along it's going to be for him. I am very worried about Mike Tomlin's over 500 streak this year because Pittsburgh right now, Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky today against the Jets, it didn't look like it really mattered. They just don't look very good offensively.
Yeah, this was Zach Wilson's first start of the year, coming back from injury. He went 18-36, 252, 1 touchdown. Did throw 2 picks, caught a touchdown. Breece Hall got in the action with 17 carries, 66 yards, 1 touchdown. Looks like he's taken more of that back roll from Michael Carter. Corey Davis, if you're wondering, hey, who's going to be Zach's number 1 guy? It looks like Corey Davis, folks. 5 receptions for 74 and a touchdown. Garrett Wilson only had 2 receptions and Elijah Moore only had 3 receptions. Let's get into this little Steeler competition. You said it was half and a half. Neither one of these guys, Tanner, did well. Kenny Pickett stat line, 10 of 13 for 120, 3 picks. Mitch Trubisky, 7 of 13, 84 yards, and a pick. The Steelers can afford Kenny Pickett did have 2 rushing touchdowns, though, and that's it.
Yeah,
but the Steelers
QB sneaks on the goal line.
The Steelers aren't good enough for their team to throw 4 interceptions. I mean, George Pickens did have a nice game, 6 receptions for 102. But I mean, are you in on Kenny Pickett here full time?
Yeah, they need new energy. It's what it is. The broadcast said it correctly for once when I was watching the Red Zone. They tuned in when Pickett came in. They're like, "Yeah, looking for new, some energy." Well, you need new energy because Mitch isn't getting it done. So, new energy with Pickett will be interesting to see, but I don't think you're going to see much change of the production of play. I think you're going to see maybe Pickett be able to run the ball like he did for goal line sneaks, but I don't think you're going to see the same kind of it's going to be the same passing game. Maybe Pickens gets a little bit more reps, but you can't run the ball. Najee can't run the ball for whatever reason anymore. Maybe it's that foot injury or whatever it is. So
it's that offensive line. That offensive line is horrible.
Well, that offensive line's awful too. And it's just a bad offense going to play. It's not going to be Pickett's fault. It's not Mitch's fault. It's just a bad team. It's just a bad offense. And Chase Claypool, by the way, had a dropped pass, wide open pass, went down to the 3-5 yard line, something like that. Completely just pops out of his chest. And then you haven't heard Claypool the rest of the game after that because that was a Pickett throw, and it was a nice throw too. It's just disappointment. Your receivers aren't helping you, and your offensive line doesn't help you, and your running back isn't getting open or at the same time, stuffing the ball at the middle. You're not going to be able to win games as a offense, and Tomlin knows this. I already know he's trying to figure out life out. That's why he put Pickett in to get some new energy and see what happens. So Pittsburgh is in trouble. Let me just say that. It is week 4, and they are already on the brink of being in some bad times going forward.
Kraig, it seems like right now that Mitch is going to be the scapegoat, but it really might be their offensive coordinator, Matt Canada, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think if Kenny Pickett doesn't come in here and just kind of blow what Mitch was doing out of the water, then, you can't sit here and say that it was Mitch Trubisky's fault. If he plays 3.5 games and the offense don't look good here and another 3 games under Kenny Pickett, it doesn't look any better. I think it's unfair to say it was Mitch's fault. I do think it's fair to say that Mitch isn't the answer. Things aren't working with Mitch. So, I mean, I don't blame them fully for making the switch. I think making the switch at halftime of this game and not being able to pull it out still, I mean, that's tough. Tanner's talking about new energy. The Jets kind of seem like they had a little bit of that new energy with Zach Wilson out there, man. They seem to be playing a little more loose and kind of had a little confidence out there today. Head coach is taking receipts, so they're
It doesn't get any better for Pittsburgh. Their next 3 games: Buffalo, Tampa, and Miami. So, I mean, it could be rough. They could. They're probably not favored in any of those 3 games, and I don't know if they're going to win. I guess it just depends on how Miami does with Teddy at the helm at that game. But even with Teddy at the helm, you'd almost have to take Miami the way Miami's looked.
So I am interested because I did say this on a post-game Thursday night show when they played versus the Browns. We had Big Mike on and Bill Aikens on, and we were talking Matt Canada and everything. And I brought up the hot take, the JG hot take, of course, of what if Matt Canada's sabotaging Mitch Trubisky? Now this theory can finally put into play. Does the offense change when Kenny Pickett comes into play? Because Kenny Pickett and Matt Canada have a relation being on the same team in Pitt. So that's
through a half, I'd say that's BS because it doesn't look like it. You know what I mean?
Let's give it a full week of game preparation going to play. Let's see what happens. But I don't know. That was my hot take that post game.
That offense didn't look a ton better, but man, when Kenny Pickett came out there, the crowd was going crazy, and I mean, you just kind of feel for him.
Well, if you're gonna lose,
right.
If you're going to lose, you might as well play the kid, right? Like if you're going to lose to the goddamn Jets and, now your next 3 games we're looking at it, you might as well let the kid play and get him some experience to put him ahead of the 8 ball next year.
I'm still surprised they made the switch at the half. I think that you give Mitch this game. I mean, they weren't getting blown out by the Jets. They were still in it. I feel like you give Mitch this game, and then if you lose at home to the Jets, that gives you all the reason you need moving forward to put in the kid. But I was kind of surprised the way they did it at the half.
All right, let's go ahead. We'll move from Mitch's new team to Mitch's old team. Kraig, it doesn't get any worse for the Bears. 12-20 here. Daniel Jones got hurt. Tyrod Taylor comes in. He gets hurt. Next thing you know, Saquon Barkley's running at quarterback here for the Giants. Kraig, defend your boys here. It's just their offense. God, how bad can it be? Each week we say it's bad, and it just keeps getting worse.
Yeah, the offense is getting tough to watch, man. I mean, they were on the Giants side of the field plenty. Never got nothing more than a field goal. Had some turnovers, a bad muffed punt. They were getting the ball with about 3 minutes to go on a punt, with a chance to at least come down and try to get a touchdown in two, and then they muffed the punt, turn it over. Just a really ugly showing. I mean, I think the Bears are everybody coming into the year kind of picked the Bears to be a 3-4 win team. I said that I felt like they could at least match what they did last year under Matt Nagy and go for maybe 6 to 7 wins. But I think you just look at the personnel. The Bears aren't that good. I did feel like this was a game that they had an opportunity to win with the Giants, because the Giants, I think, are not the best of the 3-1 teams in the league. They've definitely got some question marks, but man, the Bears couldn't stop the run. They couldn't score. We were talking about that prop bet with Justin Fields. It was like 148 yards that Vegas had. It was just a couple minutes into the third quarter. I said, well, Fields already passed that bet. And then I don't know if he had another passing yard the rest of the game, because he still finished with like 155.
Yes. So Fields went.
It was bad there in the fourth quarter. And when you're trailing like that, I mean, it's just I said it last week, man, and I'm going to keep saying it. The Bears, we're not competing for a Super Bowl here. They're in a rebuild, and they really need to see what they got with Justin Fields. So they need to turn the kid loose, let him make some mistakes. But I mean, you can't just keep not letting him throw the ball.
Hey, this was his highest attempts in all 4 games here.
This
22 attempts.
Yeah,
the pass was 17.
11.
Hey, that's progress, baby.
Yeah, it was 11 to 22, 174 yards. Khalil Herbert, 19 carries for 77 yards. Darnell Mooney finally had himself a game, 4 receptions for 94 yards. So there's a little bit of light there. And then you look at the Giants. We talked about it. 8 to 10. I mean, it's not like Daniel Jones was out here lighting it up either, folks. 8 attempts, 8 completions out of 13, 71 yards. Then Tyrod, we mentioned Jones went out. Tyrod comes in. He only has one for 3 and a pick for 11 yards. Saquon Barkley, though, 31 carries for 146 yards. Talk about a workhorse. Danny Jones did get rush in for two touchdowns. But I mean, and then there's no receivers to speak of here in New York. But Tanner, I mean, Saquon, 31 carries for 146. They just kept feeding them. What's your thoughts here, Bears, Giants? I mean, Kraig alluded to it. Giants are 3-1, surprisingly, right?
Yeah, surprisingly for sure. But that's what's going to be this year. That's what we talked about with Jim on BodkinShow a couple weeks ago. Was these Giants games are going to be scrappy. They're going to be won, the hard way, and that's by running the ball essentially with Saquon. Daniel Jones goes out with an ankle injury. Tyrod Taylor comes in for 3 snaps or whatever it was, or 3 throws, and it ends up going out with concussion protocol. And now you're stuck with trying to figure out a wildcat system while Daniel Jones limps on the side trying to be a distraction. So it's going to be these kind of games. And fortunately for them, they had to face the Bears that are just no good all the way around, except for some of that defense. But the defense is already, gassed by then, trying to stop Saquon Barkley from running around them. So am I surprised they're 3-1? Completely. But the way they're playing ball, like that defense. Can we give a shout out to that Giants defense, by the way? I know we don't talk about them much, but
they're
the whole reasons why they're 3-1.
Is Dayball just going to run Saquon to the ground here? I mean, Jesus.
Well.
I mean, like.
Saquon's had 2 years off, practically.
I mean, Kraig, the Bears, they've shown now they can't stop the run. We saw what Aaron Jones did to him on Sunday night in week 2. And then, I mean, Saquon here just ran all over him too. I mean, it's 30 attempts, just absolutely, you know, Brady Williams is chiming in here.
What's up, Brady?
He's chiming in. Saquon with talent plus volume is going to be unstoppable fantasy-wise. Right now, Kraig, I mean, Saquon Barkley's got to be the surprise, one of the surprises of all fantasy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know necessarily that it's a surprise on how good he's doing. Saquon's always done well when he's healthy, man. Is Saquon going to hold up all year? And if they're going to run him 30 times a game, I mean, I don't know what the answer to that is going to be. I don't know that that's sustainable. But I mean, yeah, right now that's the recipe for success. They're 3-1 doing it, so I don't know that they're going to turn away from it either.
Yeah, speaking of two teams that like to run the ball here, and we talked about the Bodkins KOD at the start of the show. I gave the Colts the Bodkins KOD, and it just keeps getting worse and worse here, Kraig. The Titans just go into Indy and slap them in the mouth, 24-17. It wasn't even really that close. I think they were up 14-0 at one point, and just –
first quarter.
I mean, how bad are the freaking Colts? Come on.
Shaq
Leonard gets his debut, goes out injured.
He got a concussion, didn't he?
Yeah. I thought it was a concussion or it was bad. I forgot. I think it was concussion on a hit. Yeah, I think you're right. And then Jonathan Taylor goes out with an injury, beat up. You got just a little bit of everything happening for that Colts team. There's no consistency. There's no run game, which is it's a big reason why it's killing them this time. Mo Alley Cox, by the way, somehow became a touchdown magnet for Matt Ryan whenever they do get in the red zone the past few games. So that's kind of nice to see. Alec Pierce at 80 yards as well. But yeah, outside of that, it's just a big team of disappointments. Why did we lose to them? I don't know why the Chiefs lost to them. I forgot. So, you know, it's last week.
You look at Ryan Tannehill, 17-21, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, 22 carries, 114 yards. Just, I mean, your typical Derrick Henry day. Not much in the receiving for the Titans. Traylon Burks, only 2 receptions here.
Derrick Henry.
Kawando, 3 receptions, 38 yards, caught a touchdown. Robert Woods, 4 receptions, 30 yards, and a touchdown. You get into the abysmal Colts here. Tanner Matt Ryan continues to throw just interceptions at times. 356 yards, though, 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor, before he left the game, only 42 yards on 20 carries. Mo Alley Cox did have a big day, 6 receptions, 85 yards, and 2 tutters. But other than that, nothing to be found. Kraig, what's your thoughts there on Colts Titans?
Yeah, I picked the Titans in this game because I just kind of thought this was one of them game scripts, man, where the Titans, if you can get in a game script where Derrick Henry gets the ball 20 times or more, that's right where the Titans want to be. And so far the Colts stink, man. Kansas City just, for whatever reason, that's one of the places that, you know, there's just certain teams that travel to certain places and always seem to just kind of not have great games. For whatever reason, Kansas City does that in Indy. Yeah. And, I mean, I don't think that game was anything to say about the Colts. I think overall the product that we've seen out of the Colts is not very good so far this year. They've got a ton of work to worry about, especially now Jonathan Taylor is hurt because the offense runs, you know, through Jonathan Taylor. Matt Ryan's throwing for a ton of yards, but that's because they're trailing the majority of every game that they're in, and he's got to start slinging it to try to get in it late. But yeah, like I said, I mean, the Titans are kind of getting things rolling here now, 1-2 in a row. This is the type of game that they love to be in. And I think, I had the Titans winning this division. I'm going to stick with that. I like Vrabel. I like, Derrick Henry when they can stick to their game plan. This is the type of game the Titans love.
Yeah. Brady Williams wants to know, are you guys buying Pittman on the low here? Kraig, we'll start with you, and then Tanner, if you want to give your thoughts as well. Kraig, what's your thoughts on Michael Pittman Jr.? Are you buying him low? What should we do here with Pittman?
I probably am, depending on how low you can get him right now. Michael Pittman still, like I said, man, the Colts, with Jonathan Taylor out now, the Colts are already trying to sling it to get back in games late. And I think Michael Pittman's still the top receiving option on that team when everybody's healthy. And maybe it's going to take a little time. Maybe Matt Ryan will get some things clicking and that offense will look a little better as time goes on here. But I feel like if somebody in your league is selling on Michael Pittman right now on the first 4 weeks and you can buy low, I would buy in on him.
Yeah.
Tanner, what's your thoughts here on Pittman?
I agree. If you can get him low, go for it. But I don't think you're going to do it. I don't think Pittman's at that value yet that you can go out and, buy low essentially on him. He's still going to be worth, a solid first tier, top second tier pick going into play. The guy isn't, just through 4 weeks, just because he's been in and out injured, 1 week of it, of course. This week he was down. The guy's still going to be a solid target for Matt Ryan. And like I said, we're only 4 weeks here. If you can go out and get a guy that's maybe last place, that's starting to sell his team for maybe draft picks or just looking for anything to get something going, maybe an injured up team, go get him. But outside of that, I don't think you're going to get him low though.
The Frank Wright hot seat's got to be cooking right for the Colts. I mean, they don't turn it around in a hurry. Frank Wright will be looking for a new job come the offseason.
I think it's getting preheated right now. I wouldn't say, cooking yet. I say it's preheated.
I think it's cooking.
The knob's starting to turn a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's definitely warm. I mean, the Colts, where they finished last year, just that bad loss at the end of the year away from making the playoffs. I feel like going and get Matt Ryan, they just felt like this year you have to do better than that. So if they don't, I mean, the coach is usually the scapegoat.
Yeah, the quarterback's been the scapegoat there for like the last 3 years. That'll no longer be the issue. Let's go ahead and get into a huge bounce back game here for the Chargers as they roll over the Texans, 34-24. Tanner, what's your thoughts here on Chargers? Just a good bounce back game after that beatdown they took from Jacksonville last week.
Eckler's alive, everybody. In case everybody's wondering, Eckler is alive and he's well. He's doing fine. He had 2 great TDs rushing, another, I think, 2 on passing.
Yeah, he had 13 of 60 yards, 2 touchdowns rushing, and then went 6 for 49 on the and a tutter for on the receiving end.
Very impressive. Exactly what I was expecting to see from this Chargers offense, coming out, slinging the ball, throwing the ball, and they got a great boost with the run game with Eckler going to play, even without Keenan Allen coming to play. Now the defense looked great through the first 3 quarters. And then things started getting interesting there. The defense kind of fell apart. There wasn't as much pressure coming to play, similar to the Oakland game or the Las Vegas. See, it's coming on Oakland now. Las Vegas game, week 1, where they just stopped doing pressure towards the 4th quarter. And that gave Davis Mills able time to get guys open. Granted, they did have some key stops at the end to be able to solidify that game up, but it almost got interesting. So hopefully they can learn to finish games, because that was their issue last year too, was they got up big, but they had troubles finishing some games. So, but overall, I'm very happy with the Chargers' performance. It's exactly what I was saying. Like, excited to see it. Texans aren't just a lay down kind of team after they get down 24-0, 21-0, whatever it was. It's that team's gonna fight. And Damian Pierce, by the way, he had like 119 yards, I think, for the Texans.
So, yeah, Pierce went 14 carries, 131 yards, 1 touchdown. Davis Mills, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Was 246 yards. Brandon Cooks, nice game, 7 receptions, 57 yards and a touchdown. Rex Burkhead, 5 receptions, 39 yards and a touchdown. Kraig's boy, Justin Herbert, 27 of 39, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. We talked about Eckler. Mike Williams finally comes back alive here too, 7 receptions, 120 yards. Kraig, you picked the Texans to cover here, but I know that the Chargers are kind of your West Coast team. But what's your thoughts here? Texans now 2-2. Chargers 2-2, and the Texans are 0-3 here. What's your thoughts here on this game?
And 1.
Yeah, I think so. I did take the Texans to cover. Texans were undefeated against the spread in the first 3 games here, and the Chargers last week just I mean, Justin Herbert didn't look right. I even said last week he shouldn't have been playing. So it was tough for me to bet for the Chargers to cover the points, but at the same time, I mean, it's a good sign for the Chargers because they looked back to normal. Austin Eckler was doing Austin Eckler things. Justin Herbert was doing Justin Herbert things. And like Tanner said, the team looked great, and then the defense let the opponent back in it. That's what the Chargers do. But I think it's very encouraging signs for the Chargers because, man, when you lost that game to the Chiefs the way you did, and then you get beat down by the Jags, and then you don't know exactly what kind of state your starting quarterback is in. I feel like there was a lot of worry there for the Chargers, pretty instantly. So having a bounce back game like this, where everything kind of looked back to normal, I think that's big for them.
Yeah, let's go ahead and we'll move into the next game. Another weird game. Both these teams now 2-2 on the season. Or no, I guess that's Atlanta's first win. Sorry, Atlanta gets its first W against the Brownies. Or no, Atlanta is 2-2. I forgot they won last week
because they beat the Seahawks last week.
Yeah, so both teams 2-2 here. The Falcons win 23-20. Kraig, what's your thoughts here? You picked Atlanta to cover and win. They were able to do that for you. Browns, I thought, coming off that Pittsburgh win, looked really well. But, I mean, they lose to Atlanta here. Is this both these teams just kind of are who we thought they are until Deshaun gets back for Cleveland?
I mean, I think, this is kind of what you get. Jacoby Brissett's been really good at taking care of the football, and he had a bad turnover late when they had a chance to come down the field and tie the game. And like you said, this was a really weird game. Atlanta's offense did not look good today. And, Cleveland was able to run the ball like Cleveland does. And, if you look at Marcus Mariota's line and you look at Nick Chubb's line, I tell you the Browns win this game. But somehow the Atlanta, I think 7 completions on the day. But their defense was able to make plays for them and pull it out. I mean, I had Atlanta winning this game, but I thought their offense would look a little better than it did.
Yeah, you mentioned it, Kraig. Jacoby Brissett, 21-35, 234 yards, the one bad interception. Nick Chubb, again, another nice day, 19 carries, 118 yards, 1 touchdown. Jacoby did have a rushing touchdown. David Njoku led the Browns with receiving 5 receptions for 73. And then you mentioned it, Mariota only 7 completions for 19 yards and an interception. It looks like Tyler Algier had a nice game, 10 carries for 84 yards. Cordell Patterson only 9 carries for 38 and a touchdown. I mean, he was banged up going in, and then nothing to speak of in the receiving area here for Atlanta. But Tanner, that was kind of said going in, was that Arthur Smith was mad at Mariota for committing some bad turnovers late in games. He was just going to run the ball, and they did that, and they were able to sneak out a win here against the Browns.
Yeah, it was a very ugly game. Very ugly game. The Browns are missing Garrett because there's a lot of missed tackles in the backfield that cost them points in the end going into play. Mariota escaping and finding, a couple guys down the field. So, but yeah, it was a dirty, not dirty game. It was just a bad game to really see. Lots of penalties going to play too. And just not impressive by any means from either of these teams. Not that they're going to be impressive, but just didn't look good. It was a Falcons win, but it could have gone either direction.
Yeah, no, it could have went either direction. And speaking of guys a team that we all thought was maybe going to go in the opposite direction, but they keep on winning after Dak gets hurt. The Cowboys put it on the Commanders 25-10. Tanner, I mean, Cooper Rush here 3-0. It looks like Dak's coming back. I mean, the Cowboys offense hasn't been great, but they keep that defense helps them win games. I mean, we talked about it this morning here. I mean, Cowboys win another one with Dak still hurt.
You saw it. Putting the pressure on Carson Wentz was the key to this game, and Cooper Rush not turning the ball over was the other key to this game to win. And that's exactly what happened. 2 sacks, 15 yards for Carson Wentz. But if I could go find the deeper stats, I'm sure I could find the hurries coming into play because Carson was being bomb rushed all day long by that defense. So and it was also actually a great secondary as well for that Dallas team in the end zone, in the red zone there. Washington took it, had a couple more touchdowns, but ended up being able to make some key stops into that play. So very impressive job by the Dallas Cowboys for once here. Granted, they didn't have quite the rushing game. Tony Pollard was non-existent, but – or same with Don Schultz, right? Which is a shame for me. He had zeros.
Tony Pollard was nowhere to be found either.
Tony Pollard, yeah, he was a blank
8 carries for only 6 yards. Zeke only had 19 carries for only 49 yards. 2.6 average for Zeke. Cooper Rush, 223 yards, 2 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb had himself a day, though. 6 receptions, 97 yards, and a touchdown. Michael Gallup in his return, his first game of the season, 2 receptions, 24 yards, and a lone tutter. You mentioned it. Carson Wentz, I mean, not another bad game, really. I mean, whether it was the hurries and rushes, but only 170 yards, had the 2 interceptions, threw 1 touchdown.
Dotson time.
Yeah. Dotson. We stop throwing it to Dotson and throw it to Terry McLaurin. Terry only had 2 receptions, 15 yet.
Terry?
Yeah, he was not
Terry anymore. It's where's Terry? So
exactly. 3 receptions for 43 yards, though, for Dotson, had the lone tutter. Antonio Gibson, 13. Not much to speak here, Kraig, of the Commanders' offense. We were kind of talking this morning on the Let's Talk Sports pregame show. Is Ron Rivera's seat going to start getting hot here, Kraig? I mean, he's only had 2 winning seasons of his coaching career.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just look around the NFL, and there's just, I mean, terms and conditions to this thing, and if you just aren't winning by a certain period of time, it doesn't really matter who you are. Your seat starts to get hot. So, yeah, I think Ron Rivera's seat's got to start getting pretty warm if the Commanders can't get something going. This game kind of went the way I thought, man. I mean, after last week, after seeing Carson Wentz get sacked 9 times last week, I just thought Dallas's defense was going to be too much for him this week. And, I mean, shoot, boys, the Dallas Cowboys have got a defense. So, I mean, there's all this talk about Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott and this and that. But the Dallas Cowboys have got a defense. So whoever's playing quarterback there, if their defense can continue to play the way that it has, they've got a chance. I mean, obviously I'm not somebody that's going to hop on this train that Cooper Rush deserves to keep playing, ride the hot hand. I feel like if Dak Prescott is healthy to play, Dak Prescott is the quarterback. But that Cowboys defense, I mean, thus far, that's kind of the first quarter MVP in my book would just be that defense as a whole. They've kept that team together through. I mean, when Dak went down, everybody was ready to throw the towel in on the Cowboys season.
Well,
2 weeks, Kraig. 2 weeks, Kraig. We got the Rams, then Sunday night with the Eagles. 2 weeks in a row, we get to see what this Cowboys defense really is about.
Well, and Dak's supposed to be back hopefully next week against the Rams, right when they're playing some tough competition. I mean, let's not pretend here Cooper Rush is, beating the best teams in the league here. He beat the crappy Commanders. He beat the Giants, who we already talked about, who's not, offensively are not great. And then I guess the team he did beat was the Bengals, in his first start. If you want, that's about the lone legit team he beat. And they didn't look good those first 2 weeks. It seems like they've got it together now, but let's not pretend here Cooper Rush is out here beating, the Buffalo Bills and the Chiefs and the likes of those guys. Yeah, the Ravens, those teams. Even
with the Rams and the Eagles, the next 2 games, those are 2 offenses that can score points. So that'll be a real good test to see how real the Cowboys defense is.
Yeah, speaking of the Eagles remain undefeated here in the Doug Peterson revenge game. They put it on. They were down in this game and came all the way back. I think they were down 2 scores at one point.
This game in the first quarter.
Yeah, and looked like the Jags were going to be able to hold on, but the Eagles bounced back. Jags too many turnovers. Eagles take this one 29-21. How far can the Eagles stay undefeated here, Kraig? Jalen Hurts and the Eagles continue to fly. Eagles fly.
Yeah, this is another team, that you can look up and say, hey, they got a defense. Philly's defenses came to play the last few weeks, and they got a lot of talent on the offense. So if Jalen Hurts can keep playing the way he has and their defense can play the way they have, I mean, Philly's going to be tough. I picked them to win the division. I thought that they were going to be kind of a tough out this year, but they've surprised me. I mean, here 4 games in, if you would have said there was only one undefeated team in football after the first 4 weeks, Philly wouldn't be in my first 5 guesses. So,
Same.
They've definitely surprised me here in the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, you said it. They shut down that Jaguars defense, who looked so good last week against the Chargers. Trevor Lawrence only 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, interception. No running game to speak of. ETN or James Robinson both only had 8 carries. Neither one of them got over 50 yards. Christian Kirk, who's been pretty stellar, only 2 receptions. Jamal Agnew did have 4 receptions and 2 touchdowns. And we see, Jalen Hurts, not a great game, but a good enough game to win. 204 yards passing, 1 interception, only 16 carries for 38 yards and a touchdown rushing. Miles Sanders, nice game from him, 227 carries, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kenneth Gainwell, 5 carries, 19 yards, 1 touch. Each week, I feel like we talk about these that kind of 3-headed monster running back, in that backfield, Tanner, of the Eagles. And the A.J. Brown, 5 receptions, 95 yards. This Eagles team is for real. Am I not right? Am I correct in saying that?
Oh, yeah, you're correct. This Eagles team has proven they can play defense when it needs to be. They can play offense. They can run the ball. They can do whatever they want to when they need to. Look, being down 14-0 after that pick 6 in the first quarter, I was kind of biting my nails. I'm like, oh, wow. Jaguars could come out after upsetting the Charger, could come out and upset the Eagles and make this more of a game. The next thing you know, it's like 21-14 Eagles, and then it was over from there. So the Eagles, once they figure out, once they get in their rhythm, their style of ball, nobody's going to beat them. And if you actually look at their schedule, the only chance, all right, they got the Cardinals next week. Jalen Hurts should be all over that Cardinals defense because that Cardinals defense sucks right now. Cowboys.
The Cardinals is a whole team. So that'll be a tough game. That's the one.
Cowboys is probably your tough game. Then after that, maybe the Packers, maybe the Cowboys again towards the end of the season on Christmas Eve. Outside of that, I see no reason why this Philadelphia team, unless somebody gets hurt, should have a cause of concern for playoffs. And by the way, we're talking about teams like the Bucks, the Packers, the Vikings, the Rams, all being Super Bowl favorites. Dallas, whoever does Dallas, right? Cowboys fans do Dallas, but we got the Eagles here, and right now the Eagles looks solely into that Super Bowl spot favorite going into play this season. The way they're playing, their defense playing, I see no reason why they shouldn't be the hot favorite for the NFC.
The first quarter of the season, definitely. I mean, we say it all the time. Good teams win, great teams cover. Well, the Eagles cover that 6.5 large spread. So, that's something we didn't have, Kraig.
Yeah, the Jags had been kind of a covering machine here the last couple of weeks. Trevor Lawrence only had the 1 pick, but 4 lost fumbles today. That was a big deal in that game.
Huge.
Let's get into maybe the game of the day. We're talking about the playoffs, and both these teams, I think, will be in the playoffs. That's why this game was so important, because I think one of these 2 teams will probably be the number 1 seed, along with maybe the Chiefs, if you throw one of them in there as well. But between the Ravens, Bills, and Chiefs, I think are going to be that number 1 seed in the AFC, and we got to see a preview of that, of maybe a playoff game. Maybe AFC championship game, as the Bills win a wild one. They were down 20-3 at one point, Kraig, come all the way back. Win. More importantly, what was Jim Harbaugh doing? It's fourth quarter. They could have kicked a field goal to take the lead. He goes for it. It's intercepted. Bills get by Poirier. Bills go march all the way down, kick the game-winning field goal. What's your thoughts on Harbaugh's mistake? Was it, not getting any points, going for it on 4th down, and the Bills come all the way, this comeback here for the Bills?
I don't hate it because, I mean, the Ravens have showed us before that's just kind of Jim Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson. That's kind of who they are. They've gone for it in similar fourth downs before in the past. Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it don't.
He did with Tyler Huntley last year.
Yeah, to me, it kind of just, I mean, that's kind of what the Ravens do, and it kind of shows the respect they have for the Bills' offense. Going up by 3 right there might not mean a whole lot if you think Buffalo's got plenty of opportunity to go down and score a touchdown. So they wanted to get a touchdown there, make it a whole lot more difficult on the Bills. So I don't mind the play calling. The thing that surprised me the most was with all the injuries and the depletion that the Bills have on defense, the Ravens didn't score a point in the second half. And, I mean, that was a big deal. The Bills came back, but I feel like you have to expect the Bills to score 13 points in the second half. Baltimore's offense got to do more. So the fact that they weren't able to put any points on the board in the second half to help them out, to me, that was the difference maker.
Yeah, it was a tale of two halves for both teams here. Both teams, Bills struggled in the first half. Ravens struggled the second half. Josh Allen, only 213 yards and a touchdown, did have an interception, ran one in. Stephon Diggs, only 4 receptions. Yeah, 11 carries for 70 yards and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs, 4 receptions, 62 yards. Isaiah McKenzie, 4 receptions, 21 yards and a touchdown. You get into the Ravens offense here. Lamar Jackson, only 144 yards passing, 1 touchdown. The 2 interceptions, only 11 carries for 73 yards. On the rushing, J.K. Dobbins, 13 carries for 41 yards and a touchdown. Also had 4 receptions for 22 and a touchdown. Tanner, I mean, both these offenses, both these MVP caliber, going into this game, it was kind of Lamar, Allen, and now you could even throw in Jalen Hurts for MVP, but none of these 2 quarterbacks really had like these MVP type caliber games in this one.
No, I mean, it was rough weather too. They had wind and rain similar to the Philadelphia game, just in their face the entire time. But I thought, Josh Allen ended up taking over when he was like, hey, look, I just got done with this Miami game. We ended up losing horrendously. I decided to take the ball out of my hands and do all this. And Lamar Jackson decided, I'm going to, we're going to try to throw the ball. And he's throwing it into the defensive lineman's face mask, getting it tipped for an interception that way. Like literally the second interception hit the guy square in the face mask and it popped out up. And like, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close to being a completed pass. It was disappointment. I think I'm buying this game as less of Josh Allen coming back. I'm buying this more game as a Lamar Jackson choke going into play. That's my take in this here. Lamar Jackson did not do anything in the second half. It was a big old garbage second half for them, and he had the advantage with the weather, being the running quarterback that he is. He should have outdone Josh Allen.
Well, Josh Allen's he's not as elusive as Lamar, but can run just as good.
Yeah.
Give kudos to the Bills. Kudos to the Bills defense though, because they were corralling him pretty well.
Jordan Poyer, the 2 picks was both Poyer. Him coming back from missing last week against the Dolphins. That guy had his number. He even came across on that end zone pick. You saw him start in the middle and read Lamar like a book the entire way as he was trying to think. I think it was going to Bateman in that corner though, and that was a great play by Poyer. So yeah, Poyer had his number.
Yeah, it's a nice bounce back win for the Bills. I said they weren't going to go 2-2. I believed in the Bills. I said they just weren't going to let that happen.
Yeah.
Let's get into here. Carolina 26-6. Arizona finally. I don't even know if they really finally showed up. 26. They just beat the bad Carolina team. Arizona 26-16 over Carolina. Kraig. I kind of just want to see Arizona continue to crumble here so the kitchen can get hot for Kingsbury, but somehow they're 2-2. They haven't looked great. What's your feeling here on Arizona? We know Carolina's they should fire their coach, but what's your thoughts here on Arizona as they continue this offense continues to muffle around?
You said it, Arizona's 2-2, but they've only looked good for about 2 quarters of the season. I mean, this game was 10-10 going into the fourth quarter. They pulled this one out in the fourth quarter. They pulled that Raiders game out in the fourth quarter. But outside of that, man, Arizona just hasn't looked good as a whole all the way around. I'm kind of with you. I mean, I haven't been a Kingsbury and Kyler Murray believer. And I think, we're so used to seeing Arizona start out of the gate hot and crumble late that this is kind of a different look in different territory for Arizona. Being able to pull one out on the road against Carolina, I mean, anytime you can go pull a road win out, that's a big win, especially when you got to do it tough and gritty. So, I mean, kudos for them to be able to pull the game out. But like you said, Carolina's not very good, and Arizona hasn't looked good outside of 2 fourth quarters basically all season.
Yeah, Kyler Murray, 207 yards, 2 touchdowns, had an interception, ran another touchdown in for 12 carries to 26 yards. James Conner, 15 carries, 55 yards. Marquise Brown led the way in receptions, 6 receptions, 88 yards, and a touchdown. Zach Ertz, 6 receptions, 47 yards, 1 touchdown. You look at the Panthers here. McCaffrey did play, but really wasn't much of a factor. Only had 8 carries, 27 yards. Baker, 197 yards and 2 picks. Christian McCaffrey did get involved in the receiving game. 9 receptions, 81 yards, and the lone touchdown. DJ Moore, 6 receptions, 50 yards. Tanner, I mean, is Arizona's offense just bad? And when D-Hop comes back, it'll get revived? Because that seems to be the case. I think if you look at their numbers with D-Hop, Kyler's way up here, and then without him, it's way down here, real bad. So is it just they miss D-Hop, or is there some real issues there in Arizona?
There's issues. I mean, obviously, you got Rondale Moore returning today, which was nice to see. But what I'm looking at here is I've been saying this before the season started, as soon as the Hopkins suspension got announced. When Hopkins isn't in the lineup with Kyler Murray is a disaster. He is not the same player at all. You saw that last year when they went undefeated. It was him and Hopkins the whole entire way. Hopkins bailing them out every game going to play. Him and Hopkins towards the second half of the season, Hopkins ended up getting injured, ended up missing the rest of the second half essentially, except for like 1 game or something like that. And Murray was a disaster. He lost them the playoff. Number 1 seed, ended up losing the playoffs. You're seeing it again on the start here. No Hopkins equals a disaster. Murray doesn't know where to go, doesn't know who to trust. Even though he's Hollywood Brown, who he's starting to build a connection with, it's still not there. They
had a connection in college. They played together in college.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's the thing, right? It's familiarity, but it's not Hopkins. And without Hopkins in the lineup, I really think Kyler Murray is not good without him. Like, it's period. And we're seeing it right now. They had to come back against Oakland or Las Vegas or whatever you want to call them. And then they had, struggled against a Carolina team for whatever reason. If you're supposed to be a playoff caliber team, you shouldn't be struggling against a guy like Baker Mayfield in that Carolina defense who isn't very good. So I think when Hopkins returns, we might see a different type of offense come into play for Arizona. But until then, it's rough season for Arizona fans, period.
Yeah, speaking of being rough here, we'll get into the next game. Denver 23 to the Raiders 32. Raiders pick up their first win in the season, which I said they had to have. The old Mark Davis and McDaniel's secret meeting worked out here. Tanner, what's your thoughts here? I hear you grumbling on this Denver only putting up another abysmal 23 points. This offense has looked bad for all the hype. I mean, there's bad offenses like the Bears and the Giants that we've talked about, but they didn't have the hype that this Broncos team did.
They got an excuse. They suck. We already know that. This Denver team's supposed to be good. This team sucks right now, period. Like, I was expecting this to be the game. Russell Wilson says, hey, I'm here. I'm showing up. Here's 3 or 4 touchdowns, 300 yards, gets his guys involved. Javonte goes out with an injury. This defense is atrocious today for whatever reason against this Raiders offense when they shouldn't be. They didn't put pressure on Carr at all. I even sent a tweet out to the guy, Dale Royal, who I do AFC West show on Saturday mornings with at 11. And I just tweeted and said, all I said was, are you okay? That's all I asked him. I haven't heard back from him, so hopefully he's all right. So because I would not be losing like this here. And so, look, I don't know what to say, man. This is it's not good. It's not good for a Denver fan. And like let's just say the Chiefs we're gonna, I thought the Chiefs would struggle against Tampa in that defense tonight, and obviously they're up 38-17. This could have been a shot where Denver, if they would have won, took the lead in the division if the Chiefs struggled. Like there's so much opportunity coming to play, and you go play some 0-4 Las Vegas Raiders team, and you lose like this. It's not good, man. And what Josh Jacobs had, by the way, I know he ran all over them, but what did he have in the end?
So let's get into the stat line here. Josh Jacobs, 28 carries, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns. Derek Carr, only 188 yards, but more importantly, no interceptions. More importantly, he got Devontae Adams involved, 9 receptions for 101 yards. You mentioned it on the Broncos. Javonte Williams gets hurt. He only had 10 carries for 28 yards. Russ had a rushing touchdown, threw 2 touchdowns, but only threw for 237 yards. Their lone Jerry Jeudy, 4 receptions for 53 yards and a touchdown. Cortland Sutton, 5 receptions, 52 yards and a touchdown. Kraig, the Raiders had to have this one, and they got it.
Yeah, the Raiders were the team that needed to win the most. The division that they're in, everybody in that division coming in felt like a contender. And, like you said it, the Raiders, they had to have a win. Tanner alluded to it, man. It's just not good there in Denver. I don't know if this is growing pains, but the way Denver remembers it is you go out and you get a quarterback and you go to the Super Bowl. And that's how it's supposed to be when you go get a guy. When they did it with Peyton Manning, I feel like they thought going and getting Russ was just going to be the same show over again. And it's definitely not that. Denver's got some issues. Their defense has looked pretty good. I did hear they said going into this game that they hadn't allowed a 100-yard rusher or 100-yard receiver yet this year. Devontae went for over 100 receiving. Jacobs went for over 100 rushing. So both those were laid to rest today. But, let Russ cook. It's going to be interesting to see if Geno keeps that job in Seattle all year, just comparing the stats of Geno and Russ, kind of when it's said and done and how far off it is. Because the way it's going right now, man, it's not that far off for the price that Denver paid to get Russ in there. They're going to have to get a turnaround pretty quick.
Yeah, speaking of having to turn around really quick, the Patriots come to Green Bay. They give Green Bay all they can handle. 24, Green Bay able to pull it out 24-27 in overtime. Brian Hoyer gets hurt. Obviously, they were already without Mac Jones. And old Zappy comes in the game, throws a touchdown. The Green Bay's offense continues to just start slow and sputter, but that's just kind of what I thought as a Packers fan. It would be a slow, sluggish start at the beginning of the year. But Kraig, Packers, we win ugly, but we get the W here.
Yeah, I think this is kind of what you're going to see a lot from Green Bay. You got a guy like Aaron Rodgers that knows how to win games late. And you even saw it in this game. Sometimes he's going to be going to, his guys like Randall Cobb, guys that know just kind of how to put games away late. I feel like the Packers have got a defense that they're always going to be around, and their offense may not be, as great as some of the Aaron Rodgers-led offenses that we've seen, but I feel like it's good enough to keep the game close and always be in it at the end. And if you're in it in the fourth quarter and you got Aaron Rodgers under center, you've always got a chance to win. I took Green Bay to cover the points with Mac Jones being hurt and being at Lambeau. I thought Green Bay was going to win this game somewhat handily. But, man, it was like New England just kept handing the ball off and getting first downs, running the ball, and they were just going to continue to do that and not have to put the ball in the quarterback's hand. And it seemed to be working there for a while. And then, Bill Belichick's defense, you can never count them out. They're always going to give whoever they're playing some kind of issues. But, yeah, like I said, I think you're going to see Green Bay win a lot of games like this, a lot of close kind of gritty games that are tight that Green Bay pulls out late.
Yeah, Bailey Zappi came into the game. He went 10 for 15, 99 yards, 1 touchdown. They tried to run the ball. They didn't want him to throw it. I know he's a third-string quarterback that they never really wanted to play, but he looked somewhat capable. I might look at him more so than I am Brian Hoyer filling in for Mac Jones. But Damian Harris, 18 carries, 86 yards, and a touchdown. Ramon Stevenson, 14 carries, 66 yards. There was nothing in the passing game. Devontae Parker had the lone touchdown. You look at the Packers here. Aaron Rodgers, 251, 2 touchdowns, threw a pick, which went to the house. So that's where some of the Patriots got their points. And then Aaron Jones, 16 carries, 110 yards. Christian Watson had a rushing touchdown. Romeo Doubs caught a touchdown for 5 for 47. Alan Lazard, 6 receptions, 116 yards. Dobbs also almost had another one, but he dropped it in the end zone, couldn't continue to the catch, which would have been the game-winner touchdown. Looks like it's Lazard, Dobbs, and Cobb, and Tunyon had 2 receptions, but those look like to be the guys that he's trusting here going forward.
Yeah, that's what it sure seems like as of late. And I'm really surprised Aaron Jones isn't more involved in this offense for the receiving aspect, because I really expected him from the beginning of the season, just being the trustworthy guy. But yeah, I mean, what can I say about this game? Patriots defense was all over Aaron Rodgers. Judon, especially for the Patriots, were just pressuring Rodgers and really frustrated him, truly. And granted, he's already frustrated at his offensive line. You saw him cuts out the center for not snapping it. But, it's just build up frustrations that's happening with that offense right now, just because it isn't truly clicking. And that, I don't know, what's up. So I got to ask you guys, what's up with that defense? I thought that defense was supposed to be a lot better coming to play. And we got Zappi out here, moving the ball down the field and giving them a chance to be able to score.
It wasn't Zappi. It was more the running game. I just think they've been on the field too long. I mean, they were on the field a lot. Like, that's the thing.
That's true. A lot of 3 and outs. So
yeah. When your offense isn't going on long drives and you're having to play a lot, eventually a team's going to get you, especially when they're running the ball, because, you just keep pounding it and pounding. That's my thought on that. I still think Green Bay's defense is really good. I mean, we saw what they did to Tampa Bay last week, Yeah. So.
I think this is one of those games, though. I mean, the Green Bay, especially when Zappi comes in, man, you got to be able to look up and say, man, if we stop the run, I mean, then New England's going to be in trouble, and they just weren't able to stop the run, man. New England, I mean, they kind of played a Green Bay-esque game. I feel like that's kind of Green Bay's model this year, man, is just, lean on the run and let Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, as the game drags on, guys like that are just harder and harder to stop. And New England kind of followed that game plan. And it was, I mean, to me, man, this New England Green Bay game today, this was kind of old school football. It was a lot more run game, a lot less slinging it,
Truly was.
All right, guys, let's go. You guys know what time it is. It's time for our Dogs of the Week. Tanner, as our guest, go ahead and give me your Dog of the Week.
I got a big dog on this time. TJ Hawkinson, everybody. Welcome into Week 4 NFL season 2022. The guy came up with 12 targets, 8 receptions, 179 yards, and a tutty, plus a 2-point conversion. But he also broke out. I think he had 2 catches for over 20 yards going into play. Was just the main target for that team with Amon-Ra out, with Swift out. Just being a guy to be able to help keep this Lions offense in the game, essentially give him a chance. So TJ Hawkinson is my dog of the week.
Kraig, go ahead and give me your dog of the week.
My dog of the week this week, I'm going with Josh Jacobs. The Raiders at home desperately needed a win going against a defense that hadn't allowed a 100-yard rusher yet this year. And the Raiders' run game has not been good this year. That offensive line is not great. But Josh Jacobs showed up. We alluded to it earlier. Josh Jacobs, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns, another 31 yards on 5 receptions. Huge difference maker in that game. big reason the Raiders were able to take home their first win of the season. So Josh Jacobs getting my dog of the week.
Yeah, my dog of the week goes to Saquon Barkley. 31 carries, 146 yards. Line him up at running back, line him up behind center. He was running all over the Bears. The man is back. We talked about it earlier. Saquon Barkley, give that man the ball. 31 carries. That is a true definition of a dog, baby. Saquon Barkley, my dog of the week.
I like it. I like it.
All right, from dog of the week. Oh, I dropped my turd. To our turd of the week. Tanner, go ahead and give us your DK Metcalf, because he had to take a turd mid-game and got carted off. So give us your turd of the week.
Jonathan Taylor, everybody. Jonathan Taylor is my turd of the week. Right? He finished with what was it? 3 for 18. Or no, that's not him, sorry. 20 for 42 yards. Not only is he my turd of the week, he's been my turd for the year. Truly, he's not really broken out by any means for any game outside of week 1. And but yeah, I was expecting more Taylor against this Titans defense, be able to run against him a little better too. And he just, even though he got banged up with that ankle, obviously it's maybe a little bit more of an issue than he may be thinking, and the Colts may be thinking. But I'm unimpressed. I'm unimpressed with the holes he's hit. I'm unimpressed by the way he's running, and he's not even part of the passing game. So give me the turd of the week.
Kraig, who's your turd of the week?
My turd of the week, it's somewhat of a collaboration because I didn't know exactly who to give it to. Do I give it to Mitch Trubisky for losing your job at home against the Jets? Or do I give it to Mike Tomlin for making the quarterback switch like that at home against the Jets and still losing the game? Either way you look at it, I feel like it was just a bad deal in Pittsburgh today. So one steaming hot turd for both of them. Mitch Trubisky, Mike Tomlin, both, they can equally share the turd of the week for me.
Yeah, so Kenny did text me. His turd is the Ravens D for giving up big leads every week. Good and one. His dog is Cooper Rush, going 3-0 while Dak is out. Led a big scoring drive after Washington had a chance to come back. So my big old fat turd of the week goes to the one and only Detroit Lions. This is kind of a two-part deal. Last week, you blown coverage and you give up the loss, give up the win to Minnesota in a game you should have won. This week, you're favored at home. TJ Hawkinson is going off. Jared Goff's going off. And what do? You give up 49 points to the Seahawks. 49 points to the Seahawks. Get out of here. You're supposed to be biting off kneecaps, Dan Campbell. You ain't biting off shit. You're big old fat turd is what you are. That's what you're doing, Dan Campbell. You're a big old fat turd with that defense. Get it together. I picked you to be second, maybe even win this, maybe make the playoffs, but you're not doing that with that crappy defense because you can't stop a nosebleed giving up 49 to the Seahawks and Geno Smith. I don't care what the stats say about Geno. He's still Geno Smith. You're the turd of the week. See our Detroit defense.
Fair enough to me.
All right, before we get out of here, we got one more section of the day. Let me hit the old button here. There it is. It's time. It is time. K&K Fantasy Corner. For the K&K Fantasy Corner. Well, Kenny's not here, so Tanner, I'll let you. I know you love talking fantasy, so I'll let you fill in for Kenny here. Kraig, give me your fantasy dud player of the week.
My dud player of the week, I'm doing another somewhat of a combo, and I'm just going with the Atlanta Falcons pass catchers as a whole. Marcus Mariota, only 7 completions on the day. Kyle Pitts has already made my dud list once this year, but again, 1 catch, 25 yards. That's it. Drake London, 2 catches for 17 yards. And Zacchaeus, leading receiver, 2 catches, 55 yards. So fantasy-wise, if you got Atlanta pass catchers, not a great day.
Yeah, Kenny's dud is Jonathan Taylor, ranked RB1 coming in the season. Single-digit finish yet again is what he texted me. Tanner, who's your fantasy dud of the week?
Mark Andrews, 3 points. That's it. 5 targets, 2 receptions, 15 yards. Non-existent against this Bills defense. Lamar wasn't even looking for him half the time. It seemed like he was just being covered. So, yeah, Mark Andrews is my dud of the day.
Tanner, we'll go right back to you. Who is your fantasy stud of the day?
Honestly, it has to be Josh Jacobs, right? Coming into play. Guy that, should have struggled against the Broncos defense. Came out with 28, 144 yards, 2 tutties. And he also has 6 targets for 5 receptions and 31 yards. So Josh Jacobs obviously went off, and a guy that shouldn't have gone off at all today ended up putting up right now the 3rd most points in at least my league. So shout out to Josh Jacobs there.
Yeah, Kenny texted in his stud. Geno Smith ranked QB 18 for the week, and he'll have a top 3 finish is what he said. Kraig, who's your fantasy stud of the week here?
So sometimes these things kind of go hand in hand. Tanner had my dog as his stud, and I've got my stud as his dog because I had TJ as my stud, fantasy stud this week. Huge day for Hawk, man. 8 catches, 179 yards, 2 touchdowns, put up over 40 fantasy points in our league, and was only projected at 10.8. So basically quadrupled the projection. So big time fantasy stud this week, TJ Hawkinson.
Much appreciated on my side of things.
All right, before we end the old K&K Fantasy Corner, Tanner, give me 2 guys that you're looking at maybe at picking up at waivers if they're out there.
Ooh, I like that game. Waivers. Mo Alley Cox, 2 touchdowns in 2 weeks, being a piece. So look for him on the tight end kind of side as you're looking for injuries. And trying to see here, depending what Zay Jones comes into play, maybe a guy like Jamal Agnew for the Jacksonville. Depends what Zay Jones' status really is for next week, but maybe a nice guy to stash in case it's a late, inactive call like it was today for Zay Jones. But give me Jamal Agnew. He was kind of part of that offense that wasn't really going, but he was still being targeted 6 times. So give me a couple of those guys right there.
Kraig, give me 2 waiver wires.
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback off some injuries here. If Nyheim Hines is available in your league and Jonathan Taylor's got this high ankle sprain they're talking about, he's definitely a guy to go get. And then there in Denver, Javonte Williams went down today. It sounds like Melvin Gordon might get a little bit of a bigger load there, but with as much as he fumbles the ball, it sounds like the other running back, Boone, is going to play a little bit of part in that backfield. So depending on how deep your league is, he might be a decent waiver wire pickup and stash just to see kind of how much of the workload he will get there in that backfield if Javonte misses quite a bit of time.
And Corey Davis, guys. Because Zach Wilson's back, so Corey Davis will be the reemergence that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. All right. Hey, well.
And, I mean, there's George Pickens could be a decent pickup, too, if Kenny Pickett's going to take that job.
Yeah.
There may be a little chemistry there as well.
All right, folks. Well, hey, this has been another great episode of the Bodkin Show. Tanner, I know we got tomorrow's show, but what else you got going on before we get out of here?
Well, we got Buffoon Botkins tomorrow night, guys. And then Wednesday morning, I'll release my updated power rankings on Whiskey Sports Podcast. We'll have our Sports Buffoons Wednesday night, of course, 8 p.m. Central. I'll have another fantasy shout out for Friday morning on Whiskey Sports Podcast. And then, of course, the AFC or my post-game show with Let's Talk Sports on Thursday night. I believe it's the Colts. No, I can't remember who it is. It's supposed to be a little better this time around. We'll see. But post-game Thursday, and Let's Talk Sports with Smoking Jeremy B and Carlos, Matt New Yorker. And then, of course, Saturday, 11 o'clock a.m. Central, we'll do the AFC West roundtable, and then Sunday pre-show. So I'm all over the place.
It's Colts Broncos Thursday night.
That's what it was. I thought it'd be better I thought the Broncos would win it. We might have a good game. We might not have a good game at all.
That could be a terrible game.
I'm really I'm really mad about this.
It could be a good game. I mean, preseason, that was, a playoff implication type. Two teams that had playoff hopes.
We're going to play golf on Thursday. Whoever scores the lowest is actually the winner. So.
Chiefs are continuing to put it on the Bucks. It's 41-24. This has been another great episode of the Bodkin Show. I can't thank you guys enough. Tanner filling in for Kenny. Kraig, welcome back. Thanks. Appreciate it, brother. Kraig, as always, we'll be back. Obviously, me and Tanner back here tomorrow night for Buffoon and Bodkins. Me and Kraig, and we'll have another little guest picker on Wednesday night show. You guys know what to do. Be a friend, tell a friend, share with a friend. Hit that nice subscribe button. We're also on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Head over there. Give us a subscribe. Give us the old 5-star rating. We appreciate it. Hope you all get that nice fantasy win and your team won. It's been another great week, another great NFL week. We'll be back on Wednesday night for our Week 5 predictions. I'm hitting that outro, baby. This has been another great episode of the Bodkin Show. Y'all have another great week.